So anybody following along on The Alchemist, part 1 that I did from my video, I got interrupted last night by I think some coyotes, so I want to do a follow-up. So I had to end up reading while I was walking. I was reading first while I was sitting down comfortable, then I had to get up and I had to walk. So I encountered some noise that might have distracted you or not allowed you to hear what I read from this book. So I just want to do a recap of chapter 1, and it'll also help me remember this. This is actually the second time I read this, but I don't really remember a lot of it, or most of it. But some of it was like, oh yeah, I remember there being a little shepherd boy, because the alchemist, the protagonist, I would say, the main character is a young shepherd boy. He's a young shepherd boy that his parents wanted him to be a priest, you know, so he went to school. And how I find that out is because him being a shepherd boy, he was talking about where he goes and shears his sheep, where he sells the sheep's wool. And it's this man who likes to make sure that the young shepherd boy shears the sheep in front of him so he knows his product, you know. And the man, he has a daughter, so the boy, he talks about it, he's thinking about it. He's like, the man's daughter's around my age, and every time I go over there to shear the sheep, which is like probably once a year, I always see this young, beautiful girl. And like, I think it's only once every year. It depends on the sheep. Probably has enough sheep where not all of them need to get sheared, you know, at the same time. So, but this kid always talks about how he has a book. He just has a book. Just has a book and sheep and something else. I think it's just a book and the sheep. So he always has a book, and he could always trade that book with somebody else who has a book, you know. That's just what they did back then. That's what the author wrote in there. And so the young boy, he starts talking about how he's finally having these feelings of wanting just to stay in one place now, not wanting to go travel and see different places, you know, because a shepherd travels a lot, you know. And so he's like thinking about these feelings. So he's like, man, I want to ask that girl, you know, I want to see if she wants to be with him, you know. And so he has a dream. So as he's kind of like in the midst of thinking about settling down, he has this dream, and in this dream, you know, he wants somebody to interpret the dream. Kind of like the Bible. I don't know why the Bible pops in my head, but he wants somebody to interpret the dream. So he goes to he knows in this town that he's gonna go to next, that in this town there's a lady that's known to interpret dreams and stuff, but she's a gypsy. So he's like, yeah. He's just smart. He's a smart kid, you know. He's like, but you know, there's always these folk tales about gypsies, witches, and stuff like that back then, you know, because gypsies didn't stay in one place, and women who their father had business in a particular town where they just settled down, you know, they just chose to marry and have that type of, you know, that they found importance to that. They didn't know nothing different, you know, so they judge people who are more open and more free and more traveling and more, they not a housewife, you would say, you know, per se. And even there's men that are just businessmen, not a house husband, you would say, you know. So he kind of knows, like, oh, I guess he even speaks about that, like, oh, they say gypsies are thieves and that they steal kids and use them as slaves. And so he's like, you got to be careful with this, you know, the way she'll interpret my dream. Because she says, like, it'll tell me if the world has to interpret it or I could interpret it for you. I mean, only you can interpret it. Like, you have to find out on your own, or I can interpret it for you. And but she's like, I want 1/10 of your treasure. Oh, because she interprets the dream. But she's like, so the kid tells her his dream. He's like, you know, I was with my sheep out in the field, and my sheep, I was out in the field with my sheep, and a young boy came to play with my sheep, and I was telling him, stop playing with my sheep. And then I think the young boy showed him Egypt. The young boy showed him like a vision of Egypt, and he told him, your treasure, if you go here, that's where your treasure is. And I think the kid's in Spain right now. I think he's in Spain. So the lady tells him, well, your treasure's in Egypt, you know? And so he's like, I didn't have to, like, I didn't even have to, like, you know. She just kind of reaffirmed him that there was treasure in Egypt. So I'm not sure if he ever really gave her 1/10 of what he was going to make. I mean, I'm not even there, but he's already left her. So I'm thinking, like, because then after he leaves from her, he goes somewhere where, like, I don't know, maybe he's to rest or something, or he's like not at a store, maybe a pit stop, because he starts reading his book, and an old man comes and disturbs him, and he tells him, like, he speaks about the book, like if he read it already. So, but in the kid's head, he didn't want the old man to bother him. He felt like the old man wanted to talk to him or something like that, and then finally he opened up conversation by knowing about the book, which got the kids intrigue. So then the kid's like, I don't know, he was still like kind of wanted to be left alone and stuff. But then the man, he writes something on the ground of the kid's name, his parents' name, I think, and then that girl's name. He didn't even know the girl's name, but then he like wrote more to explain, okay, he knows that that's the girl he's talking about. That's how the author writes it, you know. I had a sore throat, so I'm eating like a little cough drop. So then he knows this old man, but the old man this time, he's like, if I tell you your treasure, you got to give me 1/10 of your sheep. But the kid's like, well, the lady told me she wanted 1/10 of my treasure already. And the old man being wise, he's like, why are you going to try to offer me something you don't even have yet? It's going to make you not want to even go and get it, you know? So now that I'm speaking this out loud, so I'm kind of making it sense. Like, this story's pretty dope, you know? I was reading it fast yesterday, and I don't like the way I was reading it because I had to read it on the run, and then there was a lot of noise in the video. So, so the boy, he interprets the dream, and the boy says, cool, 1/10 of your sheep is cool with me, you know? So he has to sell the sheep because the guy tells him, yeah, you know, your treasure is in Egypt. Your treasure is in Africa. It's a different continent from Spain. Spain's in Europe. But they're very close together. If you look on a map, from England to Spain, from England to France, is really close overseas. Actually, you might even be able to get on a train or something. Look into it. My daughter's grandma's husband's from England. And that's dope, man. I encourage my daughter to go out there with her mom. I encourage them to go, fuck it. Just go. Take my daughter out there to see some different shit, you know? But, so he goes to Africa, but he's not in Egypt. He's not near Egypt because Africa is a continent. There's multiple countries within Africa. So he goes to Tangier. And, well, he sells his sheep. He has money. So he has money to go because he sells his sheep. And so now he's in Tangier. You know, like, he sees this other young kid like him at a restaurant. And he tells him, I need to go to Egypt. He's like, are you willing to take me? You know, I need a guide, you know. And, you know, he's sitting there, you know, at the counter at a restaurant, you know, small little, you know, if you watch YouTube videos today, like in other countries, you know, it looks like they're cooking from a house, but that's the restaurant, you know. So he notices the cook right there. You notice the cook is kind of like, an angry person. He's kind of mean, you know. So this kid, just being from some other little small town, you know, shepherd boy, sold all this stuff, sold everything, didn't know what he was doing, you know. He just knew my treasure's in Egypt. And he goes out there, he's in Tangier, starts trusting the kid. Kid's like, yeah, we got to get camels. We got to get 2 camels, talking like he knew, you know. Got to get 2 camels. We got to blah, blah, blah. And then the shepherd boy is just like, oh, this guy's cool. He's helping me, you know, because he just needs help, you know. But then he looks over here. This old man's being a jerk to him. He's like, me older, and I'm like, this, it's because he's a grumpy old man. He probably just knows more than you, you know? I'll be more cautious of this boy, but the young boy wasn't cautious of the young boy. Gave him his money. They leave the restaurant. They start walking around. He sees something like at one of these stores that he's never seen before. And then he looks over there. He looks around. The other boy had his money. He took off. So he took his money. So now he got no more money. And but he has like that feeling of, now I'm talking this out loud and I'm talking like this. It makes you like, what the fuck, you know? What would I do next, you know? And he pretty much just changed his mind frame from like, I'm still out here. I'm still chasing this dream. And then there's something else dope. There's something dope, but it's kind of unrealistic, but it's dope that the right author puts it in there. It's like something you wish you had. Like, they talk in this first chapter about good things, good signs, you know? And they're called omens, O-M-E-N-S. Some people's faith, some people believe in omens, you know? Or they use that word like, if we would call a blessing, you know? And we would say, I'm glad that happened, or you look back on it like, damn, that could have been an omen, or that could have been a sign, or that could have been something, you know. I talk about that in here. And the old man gifts the shepherd boy, you know, the one that he sold his 1/10 sheep to, which ended up being 6 sheep, which he must have had a decent amount of sheep. I don't want to add it up, but, and so fucking he goes and he just changed his mind state in the book from, at least I'm already here, you know? I'm already here doing what I wanted to do, travel, you know? And some more dope stuff in part 1. Like, the boy talks to his dad because his dad wanted him to be, you know, he wanted him to be, he didn't say they ever really pushed him to be a priest or anything, but I guess that was a profession in their little village. So, you know, your parents going to set you up, you know? They're not necessarily going to push you away to go be a shepherd boy to leave their home, you know? But because the boy, he told his dad, like, man, I don't want to be a priest, you know? He didn't really say it like that. Cause I'm just more talking as if normally, first person, you know? But tells him, you know, Dad, I want to travel. So his dad gave him, the next day gave him money. He's like, here's your sheep. Use your sheep, you know, the value that you have with these sheep. And, you know, you make do what you got. So the boy had, you know, always lived with little, you know, travel from here to here, very little, just with the sheep, you know, and yeah, I thought I heard something. I think it was a bird, but I thought I heard somebody back there. Also, when he talks to his dad gives him the money. The writer does a dope job at using the boy's voice. Like, you know, I could see it in my dad's eyes when he gave me the money. A little bit of him had that dream of traveling, you know, had that dream of not traveling, just doing what he wanted to do, to living his personal legend. That's what they say in here. It's dope. I guess it's part of just personal legend, you know. This book wasn't wrote a long time ago, actually. This is based in the 21st century, the 20th century. So, and he says some dope stuff for like readers too in the part 1. He says something, Paulo Coelho, because when you do read a lot of the older books, they throw a lot at you. Like, they throw a lot of names and a lot of, you know, when you read an old school book, they throw like a lot of characters right away, and you're like, how am I ever gonna like get to know all these characters, you know? And he talks about that, so he understands that. It's pretty funny. Paulo Coelho, he's from Brazil. I read the introduction to part 1 too, so that's pretty dope. And so yeah, just he said, like, I seen it in my dad's eyes. He had a little bit of that spark. So like, it was interesting how his dad was just giving him the money. Like, you want to do it, don't think twice, you know. So so anyway, the boy, he has to figure it out now that he got his money. He has no more money. And then it goes to right before part 1 ends. The little boy, he goes to, I suggest you guys read it, but he goes to, he shows up at a shop. He shows up at some guy's shop that, has a marble shop. Is it marble or crystal? Like, you know, you sell crystal, you know, crystal vases, you know, crystal centerpiece, anything crystal, maybe chandeliers. And it talks about that man's history, but all of a sudden this boy shows up to his shop, willing to just shine anything just to get a little bit of food. And all of a sudden, the town seen this interesting little boy, so they two more. All of a sudden, this man got 2 more customers, and he hadn't had customers in a while. And the boy was like, "I'm not gonna be here all the time. I don't need a job, you know. I just need something to eat." And then he took him out to go eat. So I suggest you read it yourself, man. I guess I'm doing this double because I feel like the video from yesterday, you know, didn't come out too good. But Paulo Coelho, don't be mad at me for fucking ruining your book and saying it. I'm sure you've done really well with your book, and made more money beyond your book. And yeah. So anyway, I'm gonna start reading part 2.